The greatest self-love that we can get in our life, in fact, the greatest value of any of the values that you can have is always going to be found within yourself instead of outside of yourself. And what this means is that if we are going to be on a life of self-actualization, a life where we truly are free and know ourselves, a life where we are truly our best self, it absolutely is dependent upon us knowing ourself. And that road and that skill is something that is ignored in so many different ways of how we grow and how we live and what we idolize, what we like in our culture. And this is what I want to talk about today. Let's get to it. What's happening, guys? Steve Maeda here. I'm the founder of Austin Men's Development, where I am live streaming this broadcast, but also, man, I've been working with men for 15 years. I'm 43 years old. There's so much that we're doing right now that has to do with the overall life improvement of men, especially men who've gone through high areas of trauma and so on. And this led to a post that I made on Facebook and Instagram. And I plan on doing a lot more writing here in the future. It's something that I've felt really good about in the last year doing, and I haven't published a lot of it, but we were talking about self-love, like how do we love ourselves? And the idea that our culture gives us of what self-love is, which is usually getting things outside of ourselves or getting adoration by other people or following an idol and mimicking them because we don't know what to do. And these can all be great things. And this is what we have to realize about disorder and dysfunction when it comes to unhappiness and the different causes or the different things that happen in our lives that we're trying to get rid of, is that usually they have a lot of good things working for them, like getting things, taking care of yourself, but they're distorted in a way that enacts selfishness or running from yourself or a lack of authenticity and so on. And it was interesting because in this year of exploration that I've been having with myself, and we always hear this, it's always interesting. We always say that if a man or a woman or whoever is going to truly find themselves, they have to be able to walk into the darkness. They have to be able to walk into the place alone and discover something. And a lot of times that just gets said because it sounds cool or it's tough, but that has literally been my life and just the life of addiction and these types of things. And literally how we lead and guide men through things like in Men's Development Excellence, when we do the work, which is a course within Men's Development and Excellence, within TSL, which is a course that's on social dynamics and dating and sexuality. And in that, it is all a pure exploration of self. When we move into this, we get a distorted message of what society says or what social media says is the right thing. We look at winning, we look at getting, we look at domination, we look at superiority is our form of self-love, or what somebody agrees is self-love. We see people that are doing good things for themselves, and that is self-love, or taking care of themselves in a way that is self-love. But without the complete story, without that total story of people who've really achieved a level of self-love, which is for me a daily action, and I want to get to some actionable steps with it, we are actually telling a lie to our culture. So if we tell an incomplete story and we just show the highlight reel of our life and what is love for ourselves, we actually create an ecosystem of people, an environment of people, a culture now of people who have learned how to hate themselves through actions, all while holding up the sign that we love ourselves. So that being said, the ability to walk into the dark, the ability to walk into a place that is terrifying, the ability to not know who you are, the ability to see your shadow, the ability to do all these things that are actually kitsch words now in the self-help industry, but they have great value and they've been around for a long time. And this concept of looking at the dark side of yourself has been around for, since the beginning of religions, since the beginnings of a need for a spiritual path, since the beginnings of healing certain pains that we have within ourselves, that when we look at that, it is truly terrifying. And if we get to a point in life, and this is one of the big problems with masculinity, this is one of the great problems with masculinity. And thank you so much for all the love on the live stream, man. This is great. This is amazing, man. Much appreciated. If you're watching this on YouTube, when this was being recorded, man, I got like 50 likes and 9 hearts so far. It's been less than 5 minutes. But the thing with finding who we are is going to mean that we're going to find the most terrifying parts of ourselves. And the problem with masculinity now is that we avoid that. We think being afraid is bad. We think seeing a bad side of ourselves or admitting weakness is bad. We think that seeing parts of ourselves that held the hand of a moment of failure in our lives should be something that we reject. And with that, we sweep that under the rug, and then it truly becomes a shadow. It truly becomes something that cannot help us. And that's so screwed up. This is a form of self-abuse, to hide away the things we're afraid to look at. So what we need in a real act of self-love is a vehicle to be able to know ourselves, and a vehicle to be able to get to know all the deepest sides of it. One of the things that I do is, one, I interact with my group. It's Wednesday night. We're going to have like probably 8 hours of calls. I'll be on at least 5 hours of those. And in that time, part of that has to do with self-inventory. Part of that will have to do with what I uncovered in this morning's self-inventory that I did for myself, which was a part of meditating. You could call it prayer and meditation. I'm not religious. I practice my own thing. Actually, over there's like this cool little altar thing that I do stuff with, all this hokey stuff, right? And so in that daily, I do a practice. I also journal. And in that journal, it isn't just journaling to write about things. It is journaling to get to the deeper side of my subconscious. It is journaling to take out or to give expression to the things which never get to speak, and to also have a conversation with it. And this is just one way of being able to get into that subconscious. You can do it with art. You can do it with all sorts of stuff. There's almost like unlimited amounts, but this is a way for me to get to know myself. And then after that moment of meditating, of journaling, and really taking it seriously, I put together my daily schedule of what's a priority of what I want to do. What actions, because actions are what shape us. Actions are what make us. What actions can I do to be able to start to live in that way, right? So if I have an idea of what love is, or what femininity is, or these types of things. In fact, this quote, or this kind of theme that I began it with, actually came from my psychologist friend. She's a brilliant, brilliant woman. And she said, no amount of femininity that you find outside of yourself will be able to complete the femininity within yourself. And everybody has a masculine and feminine within them. So find it within yourself, and then it will make the seeking and looking for the feminine that much more rich. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing, especially when it comes to ideas of like seduction and the exchange and the art and the beauty of that human experience. So when we get to this, I want to start to add actions daily to what I put down on paper in my meditation. And then as throughout the day, some of those actions get taken, some I slip on, and all those different things. But that moves things into a dynamic where I can start living that life. And when I can do that and build consistency on that, I can start to see progress. And this is interesting because one of the surveys I did on Austin Men's Development is, what are the biggest changes or the greatest achievements you've made in the last 6 months? Our greatest things that we have in our lives, the things that we value most. Remember, so the things that we value most have to be found within ourselves. They're not going to be found outside of ourselves, right? The real benefit to it is found within ourselves. But those changes happen slowly. And any of those big things, those great values that we have in our lives, like love, is going to move at a slow pace that we can't see in real time, but we can see in a 6-month increment. So if I am journaling and adding actions to those journals, and if I am putting it down daily, I can look back 6 months and see the progress that's been made. And that's always good. Because when we can see the power of our own change that we generate within ourselves while interacting with the world, we can realize then we are a force of nature and much more valuable to other people. I see this whole world seeking for an answer. I see them seeking for like, man, if I could just get recognition and be king or queen or whatever, then I'll be good. And part of telling yourself that story, that seeking for something outside of yourself, which is good, ambition is good, but we have to have it within too. Part of the tragedy of that story is that we don't realize that every single one of us was born to live a life path that we're living now that is so unique that we can only discover the things that we do in our own way. Instead of having that experience and allowing us to walk that path and have that experience, we diminish it, try and walk somebody else's path that isn't ours because it looks good. It solves our pain. It solves our insecurity. It solves our doubt. And don't get me wrong, role models are good, but we need to learn how to use them, right? And so we never sit through that pain. We never sit through that doubt. We never sit through what we're afraid of. And we don't find the answers within ourselves because I guarantee they're there. This is what Austin Men's Development is about being able to find that path within yourself. And literally all the tools that we have, like Men's Development Excellence or the Rebuild Challenge, which is about to get a whole lot better. I think next week we're going to make a big announcement on what the Rebuild Challenge is actually going to include, and it's going to be like some rock star stuff. These are great entry points for you to find these tools of getting there, and better yet, a community of no less than 100 people actively working on this at a time. That's what MDX is. It's 100 guys at one time actively working on how to find their best self, and nobody wastes time with that. So hopefully you join us and we talk to you soon, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Leave comments, all this sort of stuff. I have 142 likes. Somebody's gone crazy with it. That's awesome. And 45 hearts. Hey, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.